What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We have one of the last projects on this Jeep before I can really focus on getting it road legal and driving it and getting it on the trail. Well, technically you don't even need these for the trail, but it's a nice touch. So you'll notice behind me there's no taillights on the Jeep because we just put the corner armors on. So we got some new taillights. Now, there's basically like 2 or 3 options on the market. One, you have your stocks. You have your stock taillights, which are great. They get the job done. They're classic styling, but they stick out off the body like a good 2 or 3 inches, and it just kind of doesn't go with like the new sleek look that these Jeeps are taking on these days. And then you have the light dot or max built trail tails, which are the circle ones that are all LED. Really like them. I have nothing against them. I run them on the other Jeep. I have a video on how to install them on a TJ, and they are great lights. My problem with those is that everybody has them. Everybody. If you go on Instagram and you look at all these Jeeps out in Moab and all these Instagram people that are famous, they all have trail tails. And I'm like, it's becoming, what's the point of having them over stock taillights if, I don't know. Just my feeling on them. So then there's ones like these. Now these are specifically from Metal Cloak, and what's cool about these ones, these are comparable to the Savvy LED taillights, which are billet aluminum housings. Metal Cloak went ahead and made some plastic housings, which I think is brilliant. You do not need billet taillights. It's a flex, that's it. So you save like 50% over the billet ones getting plastic, and it looks exactly the same. It's the same exact molding, casting, whatever you want to call it. And then you get your LED panel. They're nice and slim. These are probably about 1 inch, so they're gonna look nice and good on the back of the Jeep there, and it keeps that OEM looking style. I really like these Metal Cloak ones from what I can tell so far because the wires look really nice. They have the side indicators here so you stay DOT legal, and they actually come with a little bag of hardware, which is super nice. I don't think we're going to use these butt connectors, but you could if you needed to. And then what we're going to do that's a little bit different, I tried to do with my Max Built Trail Tails, but I went ahead and got a trailer wiring harness for a TJ. You can do this for whatever vehicle you're working on. But what's cool about these kits, if you get like a nice harness too, you get some nice hardware. Maybe that would be the term. But what's cool about these is that you get the factory pigtails. So this harness is meant to plug right into your taillights, your wiring for your stock taillights, and pick up the powers and grounds and stuff like that for your trailer. So what we're gonna do is chop these pigtails off, and we're gonna hook those up to our lights here, so that way we're not chopping wires on the Jeep. Everything will be plug and play, super easy to service or change out in the future. One of the first things we need to do now is figure out the mounting solution for the armor. I think I'm just going to drill from the backside through the OE holes, and then we'll just tap these corner armors and just screw these housings onto the corner armor. If not, we can nut and bolt it, or double-sided tape even. But we'll figure that out. So that's what we're gonna go work on now. So what I have on the Jeep here are blank corners from Moto-Built. So they literally have nothing. They are just bent to fit the body. And then the reason I got these is because I stretched the wheelbase here, and I wanted to make sure that I could get the proper wheel well opening. So now the only thing that you don't get with these that would be kind of nice would be the taillight mounting holes. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. I suppose one of the easier ways to do this would be while you're mocking up your corners, you can make some marks. See if the camera wants to brighten this up for you. Yeah. I guess one of the best ways would be make some marks using your OE holes there. And then while you're mocking up your corners, you could pull them back off, drill out those holes, and then mount them on there for good. Now, it's really not that big of a deal to take these off to do that. But I think I'm going to try and cut a corner. Famous last words. I think I'm going to try and cut a corner and just drill these out from the inside. I don't really need the threads that are in the body from the original taillights because we can just tap the corners. These are 1/4-inch steel, so that's more than enough material to hold on these taillights. So I think we're just gonna try and do something like that, and we're just gonna try and get a drill back here and just you know, drill out the corners. All right, so drilling out the holes like that actually worked like brilliantly. No problems at all. So what differed now between the original holes in the body and the metal cloak lights here is that the hole for feeding your wires through is in the middle of your bolt pattern here. So I traced it out here. On the original lights, the hole is like somewhere down in here, and I don't want to drill a hole down there if I don't have to. So we're gonna drill a new hole. And so I've traced it out, and my method here, it would actually be super nice if you could get that oval out. So the method I'm gonna use is a 1 1/4-inch hole saw. We got our chuck. I'm just gonna mark a hole in the center of that, drill it out with a 1/4, and then we'll have our guide for the hole saw, and we'll be able to fit our smaller end of this trailer wiring harness through that hole. So by far, one of the hardest parts and the longest parts of this install is getting the side markers in. The hardware is so tiny, it doesn't even want to focus on it. Here it is for reference. It's so tiny, so small screwdriver, needle nose, and some patience. But then once you put the side marker onto the backing plate, these are now one piece, and it makes it a little bit tricky to get it onto the Jeep, but a little trick, you can hang it on the top screw here due to its design. It has like it's like slotted, so you can hang it. So just a little pro tip. But also, if you're doing this, no washer on this side, but you need a washer on the back side so you have some adequate clamping force.
Cut loose with a burning desire. This won't take long. I'm flying in fast and I'm coming on strong. I'm about to ignite.
All right, so now that we have the lights all mounted up, I'm happy with how they're fitting on the Jeep. The wires stick through just fine. Trickiest part is these little side markers, but they're on there pretty good now. And now we just have to figure out what we're doing with all this. So I did notice in the box that they actually included well, I thought they included a wiring diagram. Maybe it's on the website. Hold on. Okay, so here we go. With some quick Googling, Metal Cloak has a hill right up on the modern Jeeper forum, and it's super nice to see this diagram here. I know the camera's not going to want to focus on this, but take my word for it. It's got color codes and everything. We got TJ driver side, TJ passenger side, and it's like really nicely done instructions, how to install everything here. Very, very nicely done. So I'm just gonna see if we can just quickly do this up, and then we're gonna throw into the mix the trailer wiring harness here. It's gonna make it a little bit more tricky to figure out what wires go to what, but I think as long as I just take my time, we'll be able to figure it out. These right here are the plugs that I'm going to be using. I'm gonna splice these onto the taillights themselves, and then they will plug right into the Jeep harness, and then we'll be super reliable, super serviceable, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so we nailed the install on the driver's side. So on the passenger side, I can explain to you guys what went down. So what's really cool is that the white wire here, they provide you with a little ring connector here, and you just ground the white wire right here directly to one of your mounting bolts. I'm choosing the top one. It just seems the most symmetric, but it really doesn't matter as long as you're getting a good ground somewhere. You could even probably run another ground wire down to wherever you want, but slap this on there, and then I will show you guys the little wiring diagram that I made up.
This life is very short, no
Washer.
time to be frustrated.
Back it.
No room to fuss and fight, I'd rather be elated. I'm moving left to right, go ahead, call me cross-faded. Don't worry about
Pop
tonight,
back into the
just know
housing.
that I'm top-rated.
Okay, so we have our trailer wiring plug, and then we're gonna fish around for the Jeep plug. There she is. We're gonna take this like weird weather sealing off of there, and we're gonna plug it in loosely just so we know what the orientation of the two plugs is. I'm gonna grab a marker, and we're gonna mark what each wire is on the new plug. So we have a yellow stripe, a red stripe, and then on the top we have a brown and red, which we don't use, and then we have the black stripe. So now we can take this plug out and we know what wires we're going to on the Jeep side. Now, just using that diagram that Metal Cloak provides on the website, we have a yellow stripe on the Jeep to the black wire on the tail light. We have a red stripe on the Jeep to a red wire on the taillight. Let's see if I can do the next one without stuttering. We got a black stripe on the Jeep to the yellow wire on the taillight. Now I know exactly which wires those are, so I can just correspond it to these wires here. I'm going to twist them together to test everything, and then we'll go back and do proper heat shrinking and protection. Okay, so there's all of our test connections. We have it plugged in. Let's go hit some buttons on the Jeep here. Start with the easiest one, which is the flashers. Alright, cool. Let's see if the side marker's working. Yep, nice. Alright, let's do running lights. Yep. Yep, and side marker. Okay. So far so good. Now for the hard part, which is the blinkers. We're going to test them with the running lights on. Everything seems good on the dash. That should be this one. Oh, see, look. With this blinker on, they're both flashing. Ah, here we go again. Son of a... Okay, so after a little bit of deliberation, turns out I am going to need some resistors. When I have the blinker on, I get some like residual flashing on the other side. So if I hook up a resistor, it eats up that like residual energy, I guess, that's getting transferred over to there. So I'm going to try and put this resistor between the yellow tracer on the Jeep harness and a ground. That's why I do all this twisting now instead of doing hard connectors. So I'm going to twist this into both sides, and then we'll cycle through the whole thing again and see if that works. I just got very lucky and figured this out. On the passenger side of the Jeep. Keep in mind I have an 03, so other years might be a little bit different. The diagram says yellow tracer on the Jeep to the red wire on the taillight. That is not correct in my case here. We are going to go with the red tracer off of the Jeep to the red wire. And that seems to make everything happy, along with these resistors that I just have taped to a ground right now. So we have the resistors between the yellow tracer on the Jeep and the ground. And everything is being happy. Alright, so the last thing we have to do to wrap up this project is just clean up these wires really good. I'll show you guys what I did with the resistors and everything real quick. So I mounted them up in the well. Come on, camera. There we go. Mounted them right up here in the well. They're just, there's like little tiny bolts that hold them in, and there's like a flap here. And then just grounded it right to the chassis here with some fancy grounding screws. So just some plastic sheathing on these wires will go a long way. We'll protect it all nice, and we'll tuck it up there so they never get disturbed. Yeah, I really love these taillights. They look like kind of OE, but they're kind of modern at the same time. LED, much brighter, easier to see. So yeah, gonna be pretty cool. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.